Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Then why, in our modern world, have we turned the examined life into nothing more than a tracked spreadsheet? Why have we replaced deep self-reflection with heart rate monitors, daily habit trackers, and a desperate obsession with morning routines? We check our metrics, we log our hours, and we optimize our sleep, convinced that if we just manipulate the data of our daily routines perfectly, we will finally figure out who we are. We examine our productivity, but we completely forget to examine our soul. The anatomy of a modern crisis. We live in an era of absolute optimization. If you open any social media feed today, you are bound to be bombarded with a very specific flavor of secular gospel. It looks like this. The blueprint is believing in yourself. The cheat code is discipline and consistency. Or perhaps this. Success isn't luck, it's discipline repeated over many days. They sound clean, they sound empowering. They treat life like a video game where discipline is an exploit you can run to guarantee a winning screen. But let's pause for a second and look at the underlying anxiety behind these words. Why are we so obsessed with blueprints and cheat codes? The truth is, we are trying to escape a profound sense of emptiness. In a culture that equates our worth entirely with our visible achievements, we feel a constant, looming pressure to justify our existence. We are caught in a relentless cycle where we feel like we must constantly build, optimize, and market ourselves just to prove we matter. And instead of feeling liberated by all these endless possibilities, we often feel crushed by them. So what do? We turn to discipline, not always as a tool for genuine self-expression, but as an existential shield. We build a prison of rigid habits and hyper-productivity, so we don't have to look into the quiet abyss of our own deeper questions. We stay busy so we don't have to face the silence. The grind is a distraction from being. Think about the phrase, "Your next move matters more than your last mistake." It's brilliant psychological advice for moving forward and overcoming regret. But notice the vocabulary used here, moves and mistakes. It's chess terminology. It subtly implies that life is a highly competitive match, where every single second spent not calculating your next maneuver is a second wasted, or worse, a step toward defeat. When did living turn into a series of non-stop strategic moves? Enter the great British philosopher Bertrand Russell. In 1930, long before modern productivity gurus or social media algorithms existed, Russell wrote a timeless book called The Conquest of Happiness. In it, he diagnosed a psychological disease he termed competitive fatigue. Russell observed that modern people don't usually struggle because they can't get their basic needs met. They struggle because they are trapped in a narrow definition of success. And by success, they often mean outdoing everyone else. Russell wrote that what people fear when they engage in this daily struggle is not that they will fail to get their breakfast next morning, but that they will fail to outshine their neighbors. When we internalize quotes like "success is discipline repeated over many days," we often misinterpret what success actually means. We turn discipline into a mechanism to escape the discomfort of just being. We tell ourselves that as long as we are moving, as long as we are grinding, we are doing the right thing. But we rarely stop to ask, what am I actually running toward, and what am I running away from? If our discipline is driven entirely by the fear of being left behind, then it isn't strength. It's just a highly organized form of panic. Bertrand Russell and the right to be bored. Let's look at the concept of the cheat code again. If discipline and consistency are the ultimate cheat codes, what exactly are we trying to skip? Usually the answer is discomfort, uncertainty, and critically, boredom. Bertrand Russell had a fascinating counterintuitive take on boredom. He argued that a certain capacity for tolerating boredom is absolutely essential to a happy and meaningful life. In The Conquest of Happiness, he noted that all great lives have involved quiet, unexciting, and seemingly stagnant moments. He wrote that a life too full of excitement is an exhausting life, in which continually stronger stimulation are needed to give the thrill that has come to be thought an essential part of pleasure. Our modern obsession with perpetual movement and always making that next move makes us completely allergic to the quiet spaces where existential realizations actually happen. An existential crisis isn't a bug in the human system, it's a feature. It's your psyche waving a red flag, saying, hey, this routine you've built, it's efficient, but is it actually fulfilling? When we use discipline purely as a tool to bypass this emptiness, we are just anesthetizing ourselves with productivity. We become highly efficient machines running a script written by societal expectations, terrified of what might happen if the machine ever stops spinning. Redefining our relationship with discipline. Does this mean discipline is bad? Absolutely not. But we desperately need to change how we look at it. Let's look back at the idea that the blueprint is believing in yourself. What does it actually mean to believe in yourself? In a hyper-capitalist world, we are conditioned to believe that self-belief means having the confidence to scale a business, maximize output, or become a powerhouse of efficiency. But real self-belief is much deeper than that. It is the quiet conviction that you have intrinsic value as a human being, independent of how much you accomplish or how optimized your routine is. True discipline shouldn't be an act of war against your own mind and body. It shouldn't feel like a harsh warden forcing you to comply. Instead, it should be an act of profound self-respect. Bertrand Russell was a great champion of what he called in praise of idleness. He didn't mean advocating for pure laziness or doing absolutely nothing all day. Instead, he meant dedicating time to things that have absolutely no economic, competitive, or measurable utility. If your discipline only serves your resume, your bank account, or your external status, then it isn't a cheat code. It is just a contract with the very system that causes your exhaustion. Imagine a version of discipline where you are consistent not just at your job, your side hustle, or your workout, but consistent at protecting your inner peace. Discipline to sit quietly without reaching for your phone. Discipline to engage in a hobby that you are completely average at, just for the pure joy of doing it. Discipline to rest without feeling the toxic guilt of wasted time. The next move. So, let's look at your next move. As the quote rightly states, your next move matters more than your last mistake. If your last mistake was falling into the trap of mindless hustle, constant comparison, or treating your entire life like a corporate spreadsheet, your next move doesn't have to be another frantic sprint. Your next move can be a deliberate step backward to look at the bigger picture. An existential crisis or a feeling of deep burnout is not a failure. It is an invitation. It is the moment you realize that the blueprint you are handed by the world might not actually fit the person you are becoming. Instead of using discipline to build a beautiful, efficient cage of endless routines, we can choose to use it to build a sanctuary. Be disciplined enough to think critically for yourself. Be consistent enough to protect your joy from the noise of the world. Because at the end of the day, life isn't a video game to be beaten with a shortcut or a cheat code. It is a profound reality to be experienced. Go ahead and make your life, but make sure it's a life you actually want to live inside of, not just one that looks impressive from the outside. Thank you for watching. May you find a sense of clarity and ground yourself in the chaos of everyday life. If this journey resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts below. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.